Paul, it's been a long time. People have been asking about where are we? What's going on? The last time we were on, we promised we would not let such a gap happen again. And here we are, like, what, 3 weeks later?
Yeah, it seems that this is a kind of a broken record we're talking about here, having to apologize for the long gaps in our recording sessions. But unfortunately, it's just, well, I don't know if it's unfortunate, but summer just kind of gets in the way between vacations and business travel and just being busy in the summertime. It's really tough to hammer down a date, and the technical issues. I'll have you know. Well, our listeners should know that it's not for lack of trying. We've had some technical issues which we've hopefully have sorted out.
Yeah, don't jinx it.
Yes.
Yeah. So this episode should have been up about a week ago.
Yeah.
But well, we figured it out. So audience probably does not care about technical issues.
Exactly.
If anyone does want to know more, then send us an email. But so I was at the Blue Jay game yesterday, and I think I might revise my no adult should wear a jersey rule. I think I might buy a Blue Jay jersey.
Okay. All right. Yeah, because this went back quite a ways ago, I think, with one of your very first episodes that you did with Simon, and one of your topics was no adult over 40 should wear a jersey.
Right. And then we debated a little bit about whether that should be at the game.
Yeah,
it's okay.
We talked about it ourselves, because I think I brought up that topic myself. And I think we came to sort of an agreement, if I'm not mistaken, that it's okay to wear it to a game or to a sporting event, but just to wear it out to do your grocery shopping, it's kind of pushing
a party.
Yeah.
Come over for a barbecue and wearing your jersey. And
just wearing it just for the sake of it. Okay, maybe I can see where you're coming from on that. I don't know. I personally don't have an issue with it. I think it's fun, and I think it's good that people embrace their love of a sports team that way. I personally wouldn't necessarily show up to a party wearing a jersey, but some people would, and that's okay. I guess I don't want to judge too much.
Yeah, we have a listener, Peter, who says that we should definitely make sure we observe both sides of a story. So let's just take that for a moment. Let's just think about the guy that gets up and puts the jersey on, and he's getting ready to head to the barbecue or whatever the party is he's going to. He's looking in the closet, sifting through what to wear, and he sees the jersey. Let's just put ourselves in his into his shoes for a minute. Mm-hmm. What's going through his mind when he sees, like, the golf shirt, the polo shirts, t-shirts, and then he sees the jersey? What's going through this guy's mind when he says,
Well, I suppose it would depend on what type of party or what type of barbecue. Like, if it's a relaxed setting where if you're just getting together a bunch of friends in a backyard barbecue, then I could see that level of casual attire. But if it's anything to do with maybe a little, I wouldn't say more upscale, but just something where you're meeting new people or something, or like, I don't know, like if it's a celebration of some kind, then I personally wouldn't wear a jersey. But
okay, what about it's the big playoff game that day for that team?
Then I can understand that. Yes. Yeah. I'm trying not to be too judgy here when it comes to stuff like that. It's whatever you feel comfortable in. If it's being comfortable in your own skin, that type of thing.
My wife made the comment. She said, I tried listening to your episode where you guys were talking about airport talkers. Yeah. She said, I had to fast forward through it because I was bored.
Oh, okay.
So,
well, airport talkers, I guess, aren't that interesting of people then.
I mean, I thought it was an interesting segment, but this is why it's good to have someone who's just honest.
Yeah.
Like, it was boring. Now, it was boring to her, but maybe it wasn't boring to everyone else.
Yeah. Hey, we can't be all things to all people, right?
We have said that before.
Yeah,
You're right.
But okay, I want to get back to this. Why have you changed this tune about the jerseys? Did you get caught up in like the frenzy of the cheering on the Jays and everything? Like, will I see you purchase a jersey at some point in the future?
Well, that's the thing. So I got to thinking because normally I'm a t-shirt kind of guy when it comes to wearing team colors. Like I had a couple of Blue Jay
And I
t-shirts.
noticed that, yeah, like a lot of your Facebook posts, especially when you're living out in Asia, you're touring China and Japan, you wore your Blue Jays t-shirt with pride, which I think was pretty cool.
Yes. Well, and that was part of it too,
Yeah.
because I was in a foreign country
Mm-hmm.
and I kind of wanted to wear it because I thought sometimes they make good conversation starters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can understand that.
But back to your question, am I considering purchasing a jersey? Yes. Yes. And why? What's the change of heart on it? I actually really like the Blue Jay jersey. What they've like the logo and the lettering on the front. I think they've done a really great job. My son has a
Mm-hmm.
jersey, and I was looking at it yesterday, and I really liked the way it looked, and I thought I think maybe it's time to get one.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why.
Okay. Yeah, like I have jerseys myself. I have two Blue Jays jerseys. I got a Leaf jersey, actually two Leaf jerseys. So of the teams that I follow, yes, absolutely. I have Oshawa Generals jersey. So yes, I wear the jerseys to the games myself. Um, and I think it's kind of a cool thing. It's a sense of belonging to a team. Like I like to wear the team jersey if I'm a supporter of that team when I go to see them play.
So well, okay, then before we leave the topic, I do believe under no circumstances should one ever put their own last name on the back of the jersey.
Unless you're a kid, but as an adult, I would agree with that comment. Yeah.
Can you imagine showing up at that barbecue, not only with the jersey on,
Yeah.
but your last name pasted on the back?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a bit odd. I don't know. I wouldn't do that myself. It has to be, if you're going to go through the expense and effort to get a jersey, it has to either be blank on the back, like no player, or
Just the number.
or you choose an iconic player. Like for you, I know you're a huge Tony Fernandez fan. I don't know if you would want to do a retro jersey or if there's a current player in the team that you would want to have their number, or you just leave it blank.
Well, the one thing about jersey names, even if okay, so we agree not our own names.
Mm-hmm.
That's out.
Yeah.
But there is something about seeing a jersey of a player that's like Hyunjin Ryu, for example. I saw a few people wearing that jersey the other day.
Mm-hmm.
They were not Korean.
Mm-hmm.
Because there was a part of me that said, well, it's okay if they're Korean to wear it. But then I mean, I think it's okay to wear it regardless because many players are not Canadian or American. But my point with it was that aged badly. A Hyunjin Ryu jersey aged badly. So I thought if you're Korean, not bad because it's part of the culture. You're connecting with the culture. But there is that whole the jersey ages badly scenario where you've got this jersey of a player who's only been around for a couple of years. He's likely never going to play again because he's now had Tommy John surgery. So I always feel, well, if I did put a jersey name on, I think it would be somebody who you know is locked in for like a George Springer, for example. He's going to be around a while.
Exactly. No, that's a good point. Is that if you're gonna again go through the expense of getting a jersey because they're not cheap, then
they're like what, a couple $100 you can pay for these things.
Yeah, like you can get them on sale, but you're typically spending at least $100. But yeah, you'd want to get a player that is means something, either an iconic player from the team history, like a Joe Carter or Tony Fernandez or whoever it might be.
Sure.
Or you get a current player that you know is quite a cornerstone of the current team and is going to be there a while. So yeah, like for example, for Jay's jerseys, I got a Bichette and I got a Donaldson. So Donaldson is a guy who hasn't played in a few years, but I would still wear that jersey because he played an integral role to the team, former MVP.
Yeah.
Whereas a guy that maybe was like a rental at the end of the season and only played like, maybe a couple of games, then yeah, that would be kind of weird. And those are the jerseys that you see at the sports stores for like 75% off. So I don't know, maybe people buy them just because they want a jersey. They don't care whose name is on the back and they just got a really sweet deal on it.
Okay, so for this whole topic, we agree that okay to wear the jersey, not really okay to wear it to a party,
Mm-hmm.
certainly not okay to wear it with your own name on the back of it.
Yeah. All right. I can agree to that.
So I was recently in San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
I got back. It was the first international business trip in a while, and I did want to share a bit of a travel situation that happened. Oh, before we get into this, we didn't really do a recap on what we're doing today. We were going to do some catch up because it's been a while, and then we were going to talk just about some weird news stories because it's one of the favorite parts of our show that I've had feedback on. People really like the weird news stuff, so we're going to just do 5 or 6 weird news stories for today. We're not really going to talk too much about specific topics other than sort of our general catch up.
Yeah, I think that's a good, sounds like a real good plan.
So with San Francisco, I'm going to try to keep this short.
Yeah, you've piqued my interest here because you've indicated a while that something weird happened to you on the San Fran trip. So
yeah. So the San Fran trip, it went well. It was there. We're visiting a client. There was a couple of colleagues with me, and everything went okay. I will say the homeless situation in San Francisco has definitely gotten worse since I was last there. I was there, I think, in 2018. And now you've got literally tents set up in streets, like 5-6 tents will be set up just down a side street, which is a little bit disturbing. I was in a CVS, and I noticed that almost every single thing there was under lock and key. Like ice cream.
Ice cream, really?
Yeah, it was in a freezer and it had a padlock on it.
Wow.
And then I was looking for some chocolate bars because I like to get a few snacks instead of, just so I have them in my room, water and a few snacks. And even the chocolate bars, they weren't locked, but they were under these like kind of flaps, plastic flaps. And I was starting to get frustrated. I'm like, are you kidding me? Does everything have to be covered, locked? And so I went up to the store owner and I said, hey, can you tell me why is everything here basically either locked up or under these plastic flaps? And this is just in the regular aisleways. And he didn't even answer me. He pulled out his phone and opened up his YouTube on his phone and showed me a video of 3 people in a CVS just taking everything on the shelf and shoving them into duffel bags. And they were doing it like brazenly, like nobody was trying to stop them. They were just shoveling the stuff in. And I said, what is that? Like, what's going on? He says, we've been told by our store management that we're not allowed to stop them from doing it.
Yeah, I guess from a liability standpoint, you're putting workers in harm's way if they try to, apprehend some of these individuals that,
Right.
could be potentially dangerous because, obviously people are resorting to desperate measures. They could be high on drugs or something. So yeah, I can understand that. And as an employee making minimum wage, you're going to put yourself in harm's way because someone's stealing some chocolate bars. But the area that you were in, like, where was it? Like, was it in the financial district? Like, what kind of, was it a sketchy area?
Well, it's become a sketchy area, but it's I actually don't remember the specific area that we were in. We were not far from the, where what's that? Union Square, is it?
Okay, near Market Street.
Yeah. So,
okay, because I know that there's some weird parts of San Fran. Like, I've been to San Fran many times, and I know Market Street can be kind of a really sketchy part of town, even many years ago. And as he said, it's probably gotten a lot worse over the last couple of years.
Yeah. So the area we were in was Geary Street. I think it's Geary, not Gary. Geary, and it's at the corner. We were at the Marker Hotel, which it's not the Tenderloin. The Tenderloin's the area that definitely people say to stay away from it. But that's not really the story. So the CVS story was quite disturbing. The one I wanted to tell was my experience with my plane ride home. So the night before, I had parted ways with some colleagues, and I said, hey, safe flights back, guys. We were all going back at separate times. I was going back the next morning, and they were sticking around for a couple days to do some sightseeing. So I said, I mentioned that my flight was at 10:30 in the morning, and I went to bed. I set my alarm for, I think, like 6, and I figure I'll get to the airport by 10 or by 7. Sorry. That gives me 3+ hours. And we've all heard the stories of travel these days. So I thought taking extra precautions.
Sure. Yeah.
Anyway, I woke up at 5:45 before my alarm, and I just decided to check my email, my flight reservation, to see, confirm what, I knew it was Air Canada and I knew it was at 10:30, but I just decided to just have a quick look. And I realized it said the flight was at 7:30.
No, man. 7:30 a.m.
Yes.
Yes. And what time is this now? Like this?
5:45.
Oh, crap. Okay.
And that there was that moment of shock, like, oh shit.
Okay, so hold on. Did they change the flight time, or was it just an error on your part? You just, for some reason, thought it was 10:30.
Yeah, error on my part. The reason was because when I looked at the flight in my calendar, I was still on Toronto time.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so you get that 3-hour time difference, and it's local time 7:30. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had that, that moment where you're like panicking, right? And you're deciding there is like you're a deer in headlights because you're frozen. You're saying, do I try to make this flight? Is there even any hope? Or should I just resign myself to the fact you're not making this flight? Like by the time I would be able to get out of the hotel room, it would be 6. You've got an hour and a half to get to the airport and checked in. And, the plane it's departing at 7:30. It's not, so they're going to want to have everybody on the plane, like, half an hour before. So you've really got till about 7.
Yeah.
So I just went into try your best mode and get to the airport regardless, because if you don't get it, they can try to put you on the next one. So I scrambled like a crazo, just put everything in my duffel bag or into my bag. I fortunately didn't have to check any bags, which was important.
Okay, that's good.
So I got down to the curb at 6, and I tried ordering a Uber, and it said it was, when I ordered it from the hotel room. This is a good hack for people who are traveling. Order your car from the room so that by the time you get downstairs, you've killed 3-4 minutes. And I looked at it, it said 7 minutes. So I ordered it. I thought, perfect. By the time I get down there, it'll be 2 minutes away. So I order it. I go down, I get to the curb at 6, and I look down at the Uber thing, and it says, your car is 12 minutes away.
Oh, geez. 12 minutes. And this is 6 a.m. in the morning. So
yeah.
Why is it taking so long? There's no traffic.
And this is clearly a case where every second counts.
Yeah.
And just as I'm like realizing I'm screwed, a yellow taxi pulls up to the curb, and I put my hand up. He looks at me and gets out of his taxi and helps me put my bags into the back. So that was fortunate. So I get in. The second fortunate thing was no traffic at all. It was about 20 minutes maybe with no traffic to the airport. I'm there at 6:30 by the time I got there. I walk up to the security line. I said, my flight's leaving like at 7:30. Is there any way you could let me through, help me through? The guy points to, I said, I have Fast Pass, or I have Nexus.
Yeah, I was going to say you get your Nexus card, right?
Nexus means nothing. Another hack tip, folks. Nexus means nothing to anybody in the United States. Nothing. That does not translate. Trusted traveler, or whatever the other name is for it, pre-check, TSA pre-check, those words mean something. But Nexus means nothing to anyone south of the border. That's a Canadian word, Canadian term.
All right.
Don't say Nexus in a U.S. airport. They'll look at you like you have 2 heads. Anyway, I said, hey, I'm like desperate to get on this flight. Can you help me? And he said, oh no, you don't have TSA pre-check, which I found out later was incorrect. I actually do have it. It's the equivalent, but never mind. He then he says, I'll help you out. He walks me to a line, which I thought was a special line. And then he leaves. I said, thank you so much for helping me. He leaves, and what all he did was dump me into the regular security line.
Ah, jeez.
It's like, what a
and
jerk.
and was there a lineup? Because
Yes.
typically, yeah, like 6:30 in the morning, it's busy time for airports.
Yes, there was a huge lineup.
Um,
And anyway, so I'm in the line. I'm just, when you're just looking at your watch, you're seeing people just slowly shuffling away. So they had a dog, a security woman with a dog who wanted everybody to walk past, and the dog would sniff them. She's barking out her orders. Do not pet the dog. Do not touch the dog. Keep moving. So I'm about 50 people away from this dog as people are slowly shuffling ahead of me, and I keep looking at my watch. I finally get one person away from the dog lady, and guess what? It's time to do a shift change.
Oh, man.
So she walks off with the dog. I see her go to the other side of the area, and there's another woman with a dog. And the two dogs sniff each other. And then the other lady, fortunately, quite quickly came up and sat in the came up and replaced her, and things got moving again. I have to say it went fairly quickly. Mm-hmm. I was actually through security and at the gate by 7, and it wasn't going to board till like 7:10. So it just goes to show you that
miracles can happen, right?
Yeah.
That's incredible. Like it probably helped the fact you didn't have any check luggage. The fact that you could go straight into the security line.
I'd have been dead
to deal with that.
Dead in the water if that wasn't the case. Dead in the water.
Yeah. Well, it's like the story I told, I guess, several episodes ago when I almost missed my flight to Halifax. The issues that were going on at Pearson Airport, which are kind of still going on right now. I think things have improved a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can understand that the frustration and the panic where it's like, okay, you're almost at the point where, yes, I can make it, or okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
I resign myself to the fact I'm going to miss the flight.
But getting to the airport is good.
Waver, like you waver in and out of hope and hope versus despair.
Yeah.
Depending on how the lineups go. It's a stressful feeling, wondering like when you're at the mercy of airport lineups and security, whatever, various parties within the airport itself. But if you had have missed that flight, and first of all, I'm kind of surprised that your flight was on time, because I've flown quite a bit recently with Air Canada, and it seems like every single flight seems to be delayed by at least an hour.
Wow.
So I'm surprised that, yes, your flight was on time. But yeah, I guess if you had missed that flight, then you'd have just been on standby. I'm not sure.
Yeah, they would have just been able to at least deal with it on the spot, right? Like, okay, the next flight's at 10:30 or 5 p.m. tonight or whatever. We can route you through Denver and get you, on a flight, and you'll be home like by 2 a.m, whatever. But at least you've got options versus I'm sitting in my hotel in San Francisco trying to do it. And they could maybe tell me, oh, we have a flight leaving in an hour. It's like, oh, shoot. Well, here I am in my hotel. That doesn't help. So that would be another suggestion. True. I think if you're ever in a situation like this, always just go to the airport, unless it's like it's the last flight of the night. I would just say, go to the airport, sort it out there. It'll be much easier.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get into our weird news. So, Paul, the Pope was just in Canada recently.
Yeah, and the Pope was here for a fairly important reason. That was for the reconciliation with respect to the controversy and the issues arising from the residential schools for the Indigenous communities. Obviously, this made a lot of headlines last year in Canada when a lot of these mass graves were discovered in these former residential schools.
Yep.
And a lot of these were managed by the Catholic Church. So I think that the Pope's presence here in Canada obviously was fairly significant in the sense of providing formal apologies to a lot of these communities, the Indigenous communities. So yeah, I think we can all be in agreement that his visit here was very important. But you have some information about the cost of the papal visit, which is something that doesn't really get talked about in the media, that the cost of security and everything. You have some details on that?
Yeah, so the province of Alberta, the government of Alberta, which is where his first visit was, is expected to spend up to $20 million on the visit. As part of the visit, numerous road and site infrastructure improvement projects are underway. They list a whole bunch of highways they're going to do. They're going to widen a gravel road on one road. They're going to upgrade culvert maintenance, grading, brushing, selective subgrade repair, all kinds of.
What would that have to do with a papal visit? Why would you be doing like culvert replacements?
Yeah,
That seems weird.
building a concrete trail to the lake, concrete pad by the lake, gravel and a concrete pad inside the shrine, parking lot and lane paving, site upgrades for water, electrical, and sewage. Something at the Villeneuve Airport, access construction and gate installation, and on and on and on.
Okay.
For a visit by the Pope.
Yeah. So it seems like there's a lot of add-ons here that maybe not necessarily have to do with the security of the Pope, but I guess that they've used it as a reasoning for making some infrastructure changes. Because wasn't there, if you recall, like many, like this is over 10 years ago when Toronto hosted the G20 summit.
Yep.
And there was a big controversy because one of the meeting locations up in Huntsville, up in Northern Ontario, they had to build like some kind of a gazebo structure to host like the photo op or something like that.
Right.
And a lot of that stuff came under fire because it was all like superficial stuff that taxpayers were on the hook for. But here we are, it's sort of the same situation where you're building trails and culvert replacements because the Pope is visiting. Like, why? It seems odd. I don't know how you could justify that type of thing. Like, he's just visiting. I'm assuming he's visiting various, Indigenous reservations or sites,
making apologies, and there'll be ceremonies.
Making apologies, and we can all agree why he's there and the necessity. But like, why is like paved paths? I don't know. I know that there's pictures of him in a wheelchair because he is getting much older.
Yeah,
but there's got to be a better way to have to, move the Pope around rather than have to build all these trails or paving roads and stuff. It just seems weird.
Well, they justify it, of course, by saying, hey, well, let's just use this excuse, like when they have the Olympics and other things. Let's use this as an excuse to do all these infrastructure repairs.
But what about the cost of security itself? Like, okay, so you've mentioned $20 million, and that's just in Alberta. I think he's visited Quebec, I think Nunavut, maybe a few other places in Canada.
Right.
So a lot of that, probably the federal government, I'm sure he's picked up a lot of that tab. But the cost of security with obviously the cost of policing, you have to wonder, I guess Canadian taxpayers are on the hook for that. Like at what point should the Catholic Church be chipping in saying, hey, Catholic Church should be responsible for the Pope's security detail or offsetting some of the costs that the visiting nation is having to incur, especially because of the reason why his visit is because of a necessity to provide an apology. It's not like it's just like a goodwill tour where Canada invited him to come. I think this is an important reason why he's visited Canada. So, I'm kind of curious as to how all that is going to be sorted out. Yeah.
Well, some of it, they say here, the federal government. So some of the costs that are involved here, that the federal government is part of this $35 million. It said that 30 million of this 35 will be to help fund community-led activities, ceremonies, and travel for survivors. Okay, so I'm glad to see that the Canadian government is helping with the survivors. They said there'd be $3 million. Another $3 million will support Indigenous groups in the 3 regions where Pope Francis will spend time. there was $2 million to interpret the events and comments from Pope Francis into indigenous languages. $2 million to do that. I guess that's one comment. But back to your point, like, doesn't the Vatican have billions of dollars in their like vaults? Like, why aren't they putting up this, like, most of this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And I'm sure, you know, the whole finances of the Catholic Church, I'm sure that's a topic in itself. But there was actually an interesting news article that I saw. This was several weeks ago, where a lot of the Catholic churches, because, well, especially here in Canada, you know, the church has been sued by a lot of survivors of the residential schools. And apparently the church is having to sell off a lot of their real estate, because I think that's where a lot of their wealth comes from, is their land holdings.
Right.
They're having to sell off a lot of their well, I don't know if it's former churches, but some current. But yeah, some of their properties, including some of their iconic churches, to have to pay for the legal costs and the settlement amounts. So, you know, I think that I'm assuming that the finances would be separate between the Catholic Church here in Canada versus what the Vatican has. But yeah, I'm assuming, you know, maybe this calls for a little bit more research to figure out how this is happening, how the Catholic Church is handling this situation, and how all this is being paid for. But I get the impression that the individual, you know, the churches here in Canada are sort of left on their own. So yeah, I don't know what the Vatican is paying for. You know, are they paying for some of these settlements, which I don't think the details of that have been released yet.
No, they say that some of the local like the different church groups within Canada have been raising money to help support all of this. But I just feel like we're not seeing enough specifics around the Vatican and the organization at the top of all this. What are they actually doing to contribute to retributions? Yeah.
But either way, it sounds like a big price tag.
It is. And you know, full like, we are not at all criticizing the compensation aspects of this residential schools and Indigenous communities situation at all. It's just, is the Vatican paying its fair share for all of this?
Yeah, agreed. Yeah.
Okay, Paul, this one's a bit of a strange one. Cats on leashes. This is in Toronto. Torontonians might have to put a leash on their cats whenever they go outside. And here's why. Apparently, cats have been known to, it says here that cats are responsible for the death of about 200 million birds across the country each year. They also note that squirrels, chipmunks, rabbits, and other small critters are at risk of getting attacked by cats too.
Where did they come up with these stats? Like, how the hell do they know how many birds are being attacked by cats? Like, geez.
Yeah, it says this is from the Toronto Wildlife Center that shared data from the 2013 Environment Canada study that found that cats were responsible for the death of about 200 million birds.
In Canada?
Mm-hmm. Across the country.
200 million? Do you realize how many birds that is?
It's a lot.
I'm calling bullshit on that. I don't believe that. Like, how the hell do you get these stats? And secondly, 200 million birds, that's a hell of a lot of birds.
Each year.
Each year. Like, come on.
It sounds odd.
Sounds nonsense. But anyway, back to your story.
Yeah, so they feel also this is for the safety of the cat as well. Cats themselves are also at great risk when they are allowed to roam outdoors. When they go outside, they essentially become part of the food chain. They prey upon birds and small mammals, but they themselves are preyed upon by larger wild animals. This was a counselor in City Toronto Council, that Natalie Carvonen, executive director. She's not the counselor. She's the executive director and founder of the Toronto Wildlife Center. So there's the cat, its own safety. and then the carnage that these cats unleash in the community. Well, you are a cat owner. I'm a cat owner. What do you make of like having cats on leashes?
Okay, so a couple of thoughts on this. Um, I think that okay, a cat certainly living in the city, I think should be an indoor cat. Um, I've owned cats for many, many,
So
many
this is a
years.
cat that it's a pet, that is a pet.
Yeah, and I keep my cats as indoor cats because I think it's just safer for them. Um, you don't have this fear of the cat getting run over.
Yep.
Some people don't care.
Or becoming part of the food chain.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like it's yeah, you're right. Like cats can obviously get injured or attacked or whatever. Typically the biggest source of harm from them would be getting hit by a car. But yeah, in the city, there's a lot of dangers out there. Some people just view that, well, cats are meant to be outside, and okay, that's fine. And I know that there's other complaints people have with letting cats outside in terms of, being a nuisance or, crapping in people's flower beds, that type of thing. But I think generally cats are pretty harmless to the outdoor environment. Obviously not to the birds, according to those stats. But yeah, I guess the thing that the other thing that comes about with this whole cats on leashes is that how do you enforce this? Like, is there going to be animal control officers patrolling the area for rogue cats or something like that?
Yeah.
It just seems so weird. It's just one of these bylaws that just it's kind of like a meaningless bylaw. It's something that's on paper, but is it going to make a difference? Is it going to save, millions of birds' lives? No.
Well, maybe 200 million of them are killed each year, but you just call bullshit on that, you said. So
Yeah.
we could maybe get a copy of the study and dig a little deeper into it. But okay, so first of all, I don't believe that cats should be outdoors in general for their own safety, but I know they do kill things, and let's respect the fact that we don't really need, but they've had a lot of issues these days. There's bird diseases and things that have affected birds. So I wouldn't personally let a cat out. I think people that let cats out tend to do it for their own enjoyment, like people's enjoyment. Like, oh, let the cat out so it can enjoy being outside.
Yeah.
Like our kids really want the cat to go outside. And he said, no, you're letting the cat out for your own enjoyment.
Yeah. Like and as I touched before, it's certainly not in the city. Like there's a lot of dangers for a cat.
Mm-hmm.
It's one thing to have a rural property. Even then, with a rural property, you can still get coyotes and
I think both are pretty dangerous. Both city and country have their perils.
Yeah, but more so in the city where there's a lot more things could happen to a cat. But yeah, it's just, they make these bylaws and it's just, I don't see if it's how that's going to make any difference.
BMW is starting, this is an interesting one. BMW is starting to sell heated seat subscriptions for $18 a month.
That's a lot for a heated seat.
Yeah. And like, should you have a feature in your car like heated seats that is only enabled if you sign up for it?
That's a blatant cash grab. Like I got heated seats in my car. Why the hell am I paying money for a subscription?
Yeah, it says here.
Okay, so all right. So here's an idea. When you go to a dealership, I guess you pay extra for heated seats.
Right.
I suppose that's in the package. So if you go to the BMW dealership, then is the heated seats free and you just pay for it as you use it?
I don't know. Is there any such thing really as free? I mean, the technology is going to be there, so somebody had to pay for it. I mean, they could be expecting it'll be covered by this subscription, but it says here BMW is now selling subscriptions for heated seats in a number of countries. The latest example of the company's adoption of microtransactions for high-end car features. A monthly subscription to heat your BMW's front seats costs roughly $18, with options to subscribe for a year for $180, or 3 years for $300, or pay for unlimited access for $415.
Yeah, and I guess we're so used to these cash grabs that are becoming more and more common. Like, and we're just not used to seeing it with cars. And maybe this is the way of the future. This whole subscription service. Like, I guess we're already seeing it with radio, with satellite radio. You got to pay for that.
Yeah.
So I guess this next thing is heated seats, and next thing you got to pay for your heated steering wheel, and you got to pay for this feature and that feature. Like, I don't know. I'd be interested to see how successful this program is.
So for everybody's information, BMW has been doing this apparently since 2020, and the countries where they've been doing it are the UK, Germany, New Zealand, and South Africa. It doesn't, however, seem to be an option in the US yet. I wonder if they're like too afraid to try to introduce it to Americans.
Yeah, I know this is a generalized comment, but being BMW, I suppose if you were buying a brand new BMW, then you would, in theory, be able to afford to pay your $18 a month for your heated seats.
Yeah, but you can apply that in so many ways. I've heard, people say, well, if you can afford to buy one, you can afford to repair one, and, get a tune-up for one. Instead of it costing $80 for a tune-up, it's like $600 or $1,000 for a tune-up.
Yeah.
Of which, if you don't do them, you're voiding your warranty.
Yeah, it begins a precedent when people start signing up for stuff like this. Then other car companies are going to jump on this bandwagon. So yeah, I'm curious as to where this is going to go.
Here's another one. Fake Indian Cricket League. The strange case of the fake Indian Premier Cricket League. So what happened basically here is, so there were floodlights, high definition cameras, and umpires with walkie-talkies pinned to their shoulders. The cricket players wore colorful uniforms. The broadcast had the voices of recognized commentators and the logo of the globally recognized television channel, the BBC. But this was no Indian Premier League. The lucrative cricket tournament that generates hundreds of millions of dollars every year. It was an elaborate fraud, turning a large farm in a small village in the western Indian state of Gujarat into an arena of sporting excitement. The target? Russians betting on the winning odds of an unfamiliar sport far from home.
Okay, this seems weird. So, okay, Russians betting on it, but was this, where were the Russians though? Like, was this like
back in Russia?
So they tapped into like one of these offsite betting places where.
That's right. Yeah. So somebody created this fake tournament, and basically they did it in this farm out in the middle of Western India, and just basically put this whole ploy together to make it look like it was a real tournament, and they were accepting bets on this tournament. About 24 players were involved in the hoax. The men on the field were, in fact, unemployed village boys and construction workers. The broadcast was streamed on YouTube, and the winners of the match decided in advance. The fake matches were played in the village of Molapur.
Huh. Wow, it seems like a hell of a lot of work to put together this fake tournament. I know, it just seems that is a bizarre story because, okay, you have these villagers as players. Wouldn't you notice like some differences with the I guess with the skill of play between amateurs versus what is supposed to be professional soccer players from the Premier League? It would be like, putting together, a fake Major League Baseball game. Meanwhile, you've just got a bunch of like high school kids playing. Like, it seems bizarre that wouldn't, like, the believability aspect just seems weird.
Yeah. Apparently 4 men were arrested that were involved in creating this whole thing. They had hired, the people they were hired for roughly $5, which is a lot for a jobless young man in rural India. They were given a uniform and promised 400 rupees each for the match. And they were all pretty happy about it, apparently. But they said that the whole thing came under, it was noticed by the fact that they checked the phones of players and laptops of the organizers and found multiple Telegram channels. Okay, so this is the fake league began about 3 weeks after the real league wrapped up its games in May. And they said that the investigators were alerted to the scam by a local police officer who had noticed suspicious matches being played during mornings and evenings with floodlights on.
Yeah, it just seems so weird.
It's big money, though.
I don't know. I'm sure it is. I really question that, how they would have gone to that great lengths to stage this fake Premier League, because it would have to have involved money to get this started. It must have been. I'm sure there was Russian involvement in this. There must have been, I don't know. I'm no expert on, and the underbelly of Russian betting, but there must have been funding of some kind of a Russian investor who knew that they could, dupe these people into betting onto this fake league.
Yeah, I don't think there were Russians involved. It said that it was run by 4 local men who had swindled thousands of dollars from Russian bettors for 14 days. The fake league was given a name close enough to the real one, Indian Cricket Premier League.
Yeah, this is bizarre. I'm sure there's a lot more to this story, but it's weird how the lengths in which they did this, and did they honestly think they're going to get away with it as well?
Yeah,
because some of these Russian gangsters, they're not nice people.
Oh no.
Yeah, like they'll break your kneecaps and then they'll go to work on you, that type of thing.
All right, time for one more story. A viral TikTok video by a McDonald's manager who arrived at 4 a.m. for a breakfast shift. He went on to rant about how he was forced to operate alone with some occasional help, apparently from a maintenance worker, as staff failed to show up for their 4 a.m. shift. 2-minute video. You could witness the manager rushing around the store, boiling over his absent employees and venting about how he expected his staff to get to the restaurant at 4 a.m., yet no one showed up or called.
Where was this? Was this in the States somewhere?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so apparently the response to him was mixed. Some people said that's the way people are today. They don't have responsibility, but then a lot of people apparently kind of heaped on the manager, saying it's actually you're the reason. You're a bad manager. That's why none of your staff showed up. Yeah,
like granted, 4:30 in the morning, that's a tough shift, but still, it's like
there's lots of tough shifts. People show up for them.
Absolutely, yeah. But yeah, it's still unusual that you would have nobody showing up. Puts him in a tight spot, and I guess we.
Do you feel bad for the guy?
Yeah, I guess based on the surface of just that headline alone, I would feel bad for the guy. But as a manager, yeah, it's your job to fix it. You call other people to get additional help to come in. So yeah, it seems like it's a common theme these days and we've talked about this many times before with the whole labor shortage going on post-COVID. A lot of restaurants I'm sure everyone has experienced that. So many restaurants, retailers are so short-staffed. Because I had an article here that sort of is somewhat related to it. There's a restaurant in Michigan which closed its doors due to rude tourists. Michigan restaurant shut its doors during one of its busiest times because of rude and cocky tourists. Its manager said that these tourists were abusing the staff. Staff was being mistreated. She made an executive decision to just shut down the restaurant.
Does it say what they did? Like what kind of abuse?
Okay, so there's some kind of a festival that goes on in this town in Michigan, this Venetian festival. It says for the 8 days that this festival was on, manager said that her staff was quote unquote treated like garbage. Yeah. So it says, yeah, due to mistreatment of servers, our kitchen is closed. So yeah, I don't know how long they're closing this restaurant for. But yeah, I guess that's sort of the other side of the coin where, you have a restaurant that is trying to service people, but yeah, I guess they're having to withstand a lot of rude comments and arrogant customers. So yeah, I guess that's the part of the restaurant world that you probably don't hear that much about. So I don't know. I'm sure there's another side to this. Maybe her staff weren't that good, and maybe customers were very frustrated with the servicing. And maybe that's her interpretation. The fact that her staff were treated like trash. It's an unfortunate situation all around. But I guess if a restaurant owner is willing to, shut down for a few days to make a point, then I guess must have been pretty serious.
Yeah, I don't see any real details about what they did.
Yeah, like there was nothing in there about any specific issues or they just said too many arrogant individuals acting like they can throw money around and get their way. Too many cocky jerks. So whatever that means. But yeah, either way, that this is quite a telling story, which shows that there's a lot of crap going on in the restaurant industry, and it's I'm glad I'm not in that industry.
Well, that is a problem. There's a big short after COVID. I think the restaurant industry lost a lot of workers because they said, "Screw it! It's just too difficult an industry. The shifts the times are hard to work in. You get your schedule like 2 days before it's a time to work. Like I worked in the restaurant industry, and I remember, you sometimes didn't know when you were working that week until like a day before. So if that's a little easier for me at the time. I was, late teens, early 20s. But for some people who have families, if they're not finding it when they're working only like a day or two before, that could certainly be a problem.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, I think that's it for our time on weird news. Do you want to just quickly talk about what we're watching?
Yeah, quickly. One thing that I finished watching was a show. Well, it's kind of a 6-part series. It's called The Terminal List.
Okay.
It's on Netflix, I believe. So it stars Chris Pratt, and it's basically about a U.S. Marine who leads a mission. His team gets ambushed. And he's basically uncovers a plot which was responsible for the reason why his team was wiped out. There's a lot more to it than that. I don't want to sort of give away any spoilers, but it's very much sort of like it's based on revenge, I guess, or finding answers as to what went on. And there's a deep conspiracy involved in this. So yeah, it's based on a book. And it is, I know it's quite popular right now. I enjoyed it. It's as I said, there's 6 episodes, so it doesn't take a huge amount of investment of time. There's certainly a little bit of a build up, but once it gets going, there's quite a lot of action to it.
And where do you find it? What channel or what streaming service?
Is it Netflix or is it Prime? No, actually, it's on Prime.
Okay.
It's on Amazon Prime. Yep, there you go.
You know what's bugging me these days about Amazon Prime?
What, you have to pay for a lot of extras?
Yeah, like I'm going on there looking for movies. I find it, and then it's like available to rent or buy or as part of other type of subscription. That's annoying.
Yeah, if it's an Amazon original, then that's when it's included. But I would agree with you in that, yes, there's a lot of movies on there that, and older movies, not like it's new releases, that you have to still pay for. And that sucks. Like, what's the point in getting Prime if you still have to pay for stuff?
Well, it's like with Netflix, at least whatever's on it is not going to have some other layer of membership to it.
Yeah. What's the same with Apple TV as well? You have to pay for a lot of extras when it comes to Apple TV.
Hey,
I think only the original programs. But anyway, yeah, Terminal List. It's a good action movie. I enjoyed it. My wife was a little bit on the fence with it, but I would recommend it. I think it was worthy.
All right. So for me, it's a show called Young Sheldon.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's a nice lighthearted series. It's actually related to the Big Bang Theory show.
Yeah, and I was a big fan of Big Bang Theory. I think I've watched most of their episodes.
And I haven't watched Big Bang Theory. I assume there is a character in it named Sheldon.
Oh, okay. So it's weird. So you're watching Young Sheldon, but you've never watched Big Bang Theory?
That's right.
Wow. Okay, that's weird.
So the Sheldon,
it's yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the kind of thing that is weird. And this is something we're seeing a lot in shows now where they're doing these, there's spin-offs of shows. In the old days, it was like, what, Mork and Mindy was at a spin-off of Laverne and Shirley or something, or I probably totally got that wrong. But Happy Days Laverne and Shirley was a spin-off of Happy Days. And
yes, I think that was right.
Yeah, so various shows where you're like, oh, I didn't know they were spin-offs, or Joni Loves Chachi, This is actually kind of a reverse spin-off. It's a show that is going back into the past of Sheldon from Big Bang Theory and him and his life as a kid. It's got a very Wonder Years kind of esque feeling to it. Which I loved that show, Wonder Years. And what's great about this is it's pretty lighthearted and it's easy to watch. They're only like 20 minutes per segment, and it's something that you can watch with the kids, which I find is hard these days to find something that the kids are interested in it enough to sit down with the parents to watch. So yeah, that's what I like about it. So Young Sheldon, it's on Netflix, and I recommend it for just lighthearted, just funny stuff. But it's got a good edge to it. If you like Big Bang Theory, I'm sure it's probably got the same kind of humor to it.
Yeah, I'm sure it's the same writers, same creators, and everything. So this is your new family watching TV show, right?
Yeah. Although this is a whole other topic, but I watched. Like, I saw my son watching it the other day, and I said, wait a sec, we're all watching this as a family. And he didn't want to wait. So he's like several episodes ahead of us now, which I was quite annoyed about, to be honest.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's it, Paul. We covered a lot of ground. And let's not lie again and say that we're not going to let as much time pass between us and our next episode. So we're here on the long weekend now. This is a holiday weekend here, a civic holiday, I believe they call it.
A civic holiday, yeah.
Yeah. So we had this day off today, and we used it to record our session.
Yeah, we don't want to be pissing off our listeners here because I know they're chomping at the bit to hear what we have to say.
That's right.
So we really do promise that this time we're gonna be a little bit more frequent in our episodes.
Did you just say chomping at the bit?
Champing it. Is it champing or chomping?
It's champing.
Well, champing. Okay. All right. Champing at the bit.
We talked about this in episode
and what
3 or 4.
And what exactly is champing?
It's what the horse does. The bit in the horse's mouth. It's actually not chomping on it. It's champing on it.
Okay. All right. One of those expressions that you're not really sure how it works, but you use it anyway.
You can just go back to champing at the bit.
Okay. Well, I'm going to be chomping away here.